It's Manchester United. They've just lost the Europa League final.
Jordan's got form with Villa. He's got form.
They didn't do their job. Do your job.
What you're saying is wrong. We're back here on the Whisper It Loudly podcast, and we're glad to have your company in the chair. It's me this week, Darren Lewis with Troy Townsend and Jordan Jarrett Bryan alongside me, who's got a week off. And there is only one place to start, and that's with us sending our very best wishes to anyone and everyone affected by the terrible events of Monday evening in the city of Liverpool. Football very much second, and the city and the country coming together to support them through that horrible situation. Obviously, with the legalities around this case, a man has been arrested. We can't say too much, and please don't mention anything in the comments that could affect legal proceedings. But guys, I'm sure you'll agree we are all with the city of Liverpool right now. Troy.
Yeah, I was actually in Liverpool for the last couple of days up until Saturday afternoon. I was at a Liverpool Foundation event where obviously Jurgen Klopp returned to the city, and it's such a vibrant place, you know, not only obviously the event, which was unbelievable. It's just the city in itself, obviously building up to Sunday. There was a lot going on in the city, and everyone was just in celebratory mode, you know, and everyone was just enjoying each other. Every time I've been up there, that's what I found anyway. Excited obviously for Sunday and Monday, so being at Anfield, and then obviously the parade, and for this to happen in a city where they've had so much adversity, continued adversity, is just unbelievable for me.
I think one of the things that struck me the most was the stories of heroism, bravery, selflessness. I was broadcasting on the night, and we had tales of people just basically shoving their business to one side. One restaurant turned into a triage centre to allow the walking wounded, the people who'd been affected by it, to come and get treatment. There were cab drivers just offering to pick people up and take them home. And it really is a city that comes together in dark moments, as you were saying. Jordan.
Yeah, I heard the news when I was coming back from the Palace parade. I covered the Arsenal women's parade and the Palace parade, and I was actually initially asked to go to Liverpool on the Sunday to cover that parade. I told my editors I felt the Palace parade was a bigger story. Some may disagree with that, but I just thought editorially, I thought that them winning their first trophy was a slightly more interesting story than Liverpool winning their 20th league title. And I say that to say that I could have been there. I could have been there. I agree with you, Darren and Troy. Obviously, our thoughts are with those affected. Again, we won't go into details and speculate. I think that's to come, and we'll let the day plan out and the facts come out before we start picking apart the details. But what we can say is that we wish those that were injured a speedy recovery, and that nobody's injury turns into something worse. Because I'm still stunned that an act of that vigor and violence, we're not here talking about something far more consequential than serious injuries. But I will say, I feel for the people of Liverpool, because this was their moment of celebration. They won a league title. They won a Premier League. This was about celebration. And whenever these things happen in football and beyond, we've seen them happen at festivals and concerts. It's just really sad that at a moment of joy and entertainment, these are things that are bringing people together for entertainment. Such tragedy can happen. Imagine you go out to a concert or a parade or a football match, and it's like, what we're doing here it's just so sad. But again, we won't veer into the politics, I think, on this podcast yet, because I think that's to come. But yeah, just really, really happy, first of all, that there are no reported fatalities. Can I just briefly mention, Darren, if I can, just slight contrast at the Palace parade. You know, that did go ahead with, everything was organised really well. The Palace fans enjoyed their day. I want to pick up the Palace Football Club. because I thought that they put on a very good parade. They were very helpful to media. All the fans felt like they were catered for and supported. So that was a parade that did go ahead without any incident. In fact, it was a really joyous parade to be at. But yeah, hopefully those going back to Liverpool affected are getting the support and medical help that they need.
Well, the
Darren,
interesting thing
just
you mentioned about, sorry,
Darren,
go,
sorry,
go.
just to mention the very nature of social media at times like this, and I can't believe that there were people posting videos, obviously been taken from nearby and flats and houses, but posting videos on social media without understanding the impact of what the amount of people that car hit and the amount of potential injuries, and obviously we know now some quite significant injuries that there were, but yet people want to be the first to post the videos of the car flying through. And I posted something on my Instagram story last night because sometimes people that have never been affected by incidents like this that have no care in the world, yeah, have no care whatsoever. But people that have been impacted, affected, and obviously you've got family members who are unsure what has happened to their family, and we've seen obviously situations like that in that city before. I just can't understand. I just can't understand why people would do that for clicks, for likes, etc. And as you've both said, and I know a number of people obviously at the club and who had such a great night on Friday night and probably had a great day on Sunday. The result didn't matter, did it? But then most of Monday was beautiful for them, and it's all right. It was raining, but everyone came together. They're estimating around 1 million people, and that will be the significance of that day. Now that incident will be the significance of that day, and the very nature of Liverpool, the football club. Last trophy win in the league was during COVID, and they couldn't celebrate it properly. And they were all waiting for this moment to come round again. They finally get their moment, and like Jordan said, football doesn't matter, titles don't matter. It's about making sure that those people that have been impacted, affected, and are well, and we can hopefully hear that news sooner rather than later.
Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, I
I know
totally
you want to
agree. I
move
mean,
on, Darren. Sorry, Darren. So I know you want to move on. Apologies. I've just got to reinforce Troy's initial point there about the posting of videos. I never understand. Well, I do understand. I know why, but the posting of videos of such barbarity and brutal nature and insensitivity. I just don't. I go back to the George Floyd murder, and I remember being in WhatsApp groups, people just whacking in videos of what happened there. I'm thinking to myself, what do you get from sharing these videos? What do you get from posting these videos? I almost understand the filming of it. If you're in a position to film an incident, I almost understand that because you might want to then have it as evidence, or you.
Yeah,
I get that, but then
yeah,
if your motive is to post it for likes and shares, I just think we're in a really weird time now where social media is really changing us and making us into animals. We're into animals now. It's like filming it, sharing it to get, oh yeah, I've got lots of likes. It's increased. It's foul. It's really foul. So I really wish people would stop doing that. But sorry, I know you got to move on. But
yeah,
just
listen, we're all agreed on this point, and some people might want to argue that they posted the videos so that people could actually get a true sense of the scale of what had happened, because they may feel that it has been underplayed. They might feel that other people don't believe what they've said, so they want to prove that the way that they had described it, well, it was actually that bad. But all the time, as you both say, I totally agree, disregarding two things: A, the impact on the people and the families of those affected, and B, the fact that there is potentially a legal case, and that they've got to be able to help the authorities rather than try to grandstand on social media for likes and retweets. So we're all agreed on that. And just to your point, Jordan, about the Palace parade, it really did strike me that not just Palace, but the Arsenal parade as well, the Tottenham parade. Doubtless there'll be parades for the Sunderland football. Footballers and fans who want to celebrate their playoff win that takes them into the Premier League. And for all those ones that have gone, there'll be a feeling of there but for the grace of God. And for all those to
Mhm.
come, they'll be thinking, how can we now protect those people who want to come and celebrate with us? Because clearly there will be repercussions from what happened on Monday. Now, look, football is going to continue this week. There are, of course, big football matches in Europe, in this country, and beyond. Um, and so we have to talk about football, and we will, but we'll also return to this subject as well. If you do want to use this space to send your best wishes to the people of Liverpool, please do so in the comments. But we'll just touch on a few other things while we're here together on this occasion. It is the end of the Premier League season. And it's that time when everybody reviews the last 10 months. So let's do it here on the podcast. Guys, your managers of the season, Jordan.
I'm going to go with Eddie Howe. I'm going to go with Eddie
Okay.
Howe. I think the job that he's done with Newcastle has been amazing. You know, winning their first trophy in, was it 60 years? How many managers have tried? How many years have those fans been crying and bawling out for some kind of success? How many finals have that club lost? I think it was like 5 Wembley finals in a row, no goal. They hadn't even scored at Wembley. Um, and I think to deliver that final in a game they deserved to win, it wasn't like a smash and grab. They were better than Liverpool. They were the better team in my opinion, and they beat the Premier League champions. They didn't beat some chump in the final. They beat the best team in the country. Um, I think that combined, what tipped it for me, combined with Champions League football, albeit they tried their best to mess it up on the last day of the season. I think Champions League football and the trophy, I think, is amazing. They'd have taken either or of those two things to get both. And do it playing some good football. They started the season quite poorly, from what I remember. They didn't start the season very well. They had a stretch where it wasn't. I think they were 12th at Christmas. I could be getting that wrong, but they were really low around Christmas time, and they've gone on a run and got the cup and Champions League football. So for me, I'm going to go with Eddie Howe because I think his progression and growth and what he's delivered deserves credit.
Troy?
Oh, this is it's a tough one. So many good performances throughout the season from so many great managers who have elevated their status this season. Glasner obviously being one, just for the fact that, like Newcastle, but probably with different resources, Crystal Palace have won an FA Cup. And again, like Jordan said, it wasn't just anyone they beat in the final, it was Manchester City. And I remember Glasner saying to, or commenting about when the 5-2 defeat at the Etihad that, it won't be the same next time, or words to that effect. And he proved that in
Mm.
the cup final. Nuno,
I
despite
must
the
just
end of
say,
the
I must just say, Troy, just to interrupt you, this is the Premier League manager of the season. So I do agree with you. What Glasner did with Palace in the FA Cup was magnificent, but this is the Premier League manager this season. Troy's mentioning
so
League
so
Cups,
so
and it
when
was terrific what
when
Newcastle
Jordan
did.
spoke about the Carabao Cup, cut across
I
it.
just,
All right,
listen,
I'll accept that. I'll accept that. I'll accept that. I'll accept
it's
that.
the
I'm
Premier
gonna
League
go.
manager of the season.
I'm
You
gonna
see,
go
you
for
see,
Arne
Troy, where
Slot.
Darren's steering this. This is, do you
Yeah,
see where
yeah,
he's,
yeah. I get it.
where he's
I
going
get
with
it,
this?
Jordan. Don't worry.
He's
I
lining
get
up.
it.
He's lining up nicely, isn't he? You see where he's going.
I'm
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 just
gonna go
saying,
for slots. And many people will say, "Oh, that's the easy choice." I thought he had a difficult task when he came in. The transition from Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool to Arne Slot's Liverpool has been seamless. It's, for Liverpool fans, look, again, finishing 10 points ahead of Arsenal, winning the league with 4 games to go, and then not bothering about the games to come. Um, I just think for a first season, the difficulty of this league, year in, year out, and to take over that mantle from Manchester City and to provide exciting football, giving the players a platform. Mo Salah having an unbelievable season, but then also having to deal with the contract situation with Trent Alexander, with Van Dijk, with Mo Salah. And again, it not impacting on performances. We've seen that happen in the past, haven't we? Where there's been information coming out and there's been a dip in performance because maybe not everyone's happy around the situation of those contracts. But I just think he's managed it so well. His next season will be his toughest season, but this was the toughest season, and
Okay.
he's done it, and he's done it very, very good.
Yeah, I totally agree. Nothing for me to add to that. I'm with you on Slot. Who's your player of the season? But I tell you what, let's do player of the season without Mohamed Salah, because I think we're all
Ah,
agreed he's had an exceptional season. So who's your player of the season without Mohamed Salah?
go
I'm gonna
Jordan first.
go. You know, I'm gonna go. I'm
And
gonna
bear in mind,
go.
we have 20 minutes left on this on the
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah. No,
show.
I'll be brief. 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 I'm gonna go Jacob Murphy at Newcastle.
It's a
I
great
think he's had
shout.
a brilliant season. I think, and it's part of why I've gone with Eddie Howe. And to be fair, this is applicable to Arnie Slot as well. Coaching. I think coaching is so underused these days. Everyone's spending on better players. How about we coach and improve some players? Murphy's never going to be a world class player. He probably won't play for England. He's not maybe that level. But coaching can squeeze every last drop out of an individual. And I think this season, he scored some bangers as well. He scored some really good goals this season. But I think over the whole season, I think he's someone that I've been really impressed with. He's shown me a level that I didn't know he had. Um, so I'm going to go with him. Danny Welbeck as well has had really good games. Danny Welbeck's really underrated, but I'm going to go with Murphy. Murphy's my player of the year.
Troy?
Can I pick two, and then you select the
No,
one, and they're both from the same club?
no.
They're both from the same club. All right. Well, I'm
All
going to
right, go
say
on
it
then.
anyway.
Quickly.
Embuemo and Wizza.
Mhm.
39 goals between the two of them. Embuemo obviously got his 20th on Sunday. Rumours, obviously, big rumours that he potentially is on his way. I would hope not, but you can't stand in the way after the season that he has. There was this fear at Brentford around how would they replace Ivan Toney. And with those two and 39 goals, I'm not saying that they don't miss Ivan Toney because obviously the where they finished in the league, but I'll stick Embuemo in front of Wizza just
Okay.
because he got one more goal.
And Newcastle apparently very, very hot on Brian Mbeumo, so it'd be interesting to see if he goes there. The interesting thing about Murphy is I don't think he's the best player at Newcastle. I think Isak has had a sensational season,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I think he is not. Listen, we love Jacob Murphy, terrific player, but Isak has established himself this season as an elite striker, and
I
I
thought,
think
Darren, when you
without
said no Mo Salah, I thought you were hoping for like a bit of a left field shout, like a,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Something a bit out of the box.
Well, look, I tell you what, I
Right,
stick with you,
Ireland.
Jordan, because you said that Murphy scored some bangers. So, goal of the season. I'm assuming it's going to be one of those.
No, but yeah, I see what you're doing, but no.
That's where
Matoma
the
versus
Murphy train ends.
yeah. We're moving on. We're moving on. Matoma versus Chelsea. Bad boy
Full
goal.
stop. Full
Bad
stop.
boy goal. That
Full
goal is
stop.
absolute art. I actually want him at Arsenal, you know. It's not a popular opinion. I really
Mm,
rate him. I
mm.
really
Instead
he's
of
one of the most
Martinelli.
intelligent wingers. Hmm?
Instead of Martinelli. Because he'd
Oh
be
yeah,
playing
yeah,
off
yeah.
the left.
I would have sold him last year. I think this. I
Oh,
mean, we need to
wow.
upgrade on that position regardless. He's one of the most intelligent wingers, left wingers in the country. He's so. I think there's two more levels to get out of him. I think he's brilliant. He can beat a man. His delivery is a little bit inconsistent at times, but he's got a goal in him. His work rate is. I really rate him, and that goal for me, just like showed me
Okay.
okay, you can do a madness. So I'm gonna go
That
Matoma.
that goal was Bergkamp-esque, wasn't it? The way that he
It was
brought the ball
beautiful,
down
Troy.
in his path. But you know what? So many players have done that in the past and then probably foul on the bit that he got done so well,
Yes,
which is the
yes,
finish.
yes.
And the finish was just absolutely amazing to put all those elements together from a long goalkeeper's kick. It has to be the goal of the season. There were some
So, that's
tremendous
your goal of
strikes
the
this
season as
year,
well.
as normal. That yeah, I'm going with Jordan.
Yeah, it's really rare that we have a clean sweep, but I'm with you as well. Absolutely, the goal of the season. Technique, ability, composure as well. Absolutely sensational. Biggest disappointment this season, guys?
Hmm.
What, team, individual, or what? And are we just talking
It's really
Premier
up
League?
to you.
Okay,
I'm going to
I'll
enjoy
go.
this bit. I
It's
love the way
Tottenham. It's
that Jordan
Tottenham.
does that as though he's had to, as though he's got
No,
Yeah,
to
no,
go
no,
but
because
far.
it's
you're both going to say Man United, right? But I'm not
no. I
disappointed in
said
them.
Tottenham. I'm
Oh,
Tottenham.
okay. Well, even Tottenham's
Tottenham
harsh.
have
They
to
won a
be.
trophy.
No,
Just-
no. But we're talking Premier League season, so I've been rightly
Ah,
corrected
okay,
on a
okay.
number of
All right, all right,
and to
all right.
finish fourth from
Go on, Troy.
bottom,
You go. You go.
um, just holding up the relegated sides to have 22 defeats, which is the worst season in Tottenham's Premier League history. I understand. And yes, listen, we had this conversation last week, and this is not even an argument. They've had numerous injuries. They've had and just had numerous complications. But then tell me a club that hasn't. Tell me a club that has not lost influential players through difficult moments of the season. And you know what? Still managed to pick up their fair share of points. So for me, for Spurs to finish in the place that they have, for the enormity of that football club, is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. And so for mine, and it would be Tottenham season.
I'm
Jordan?
I'm gonna go Villa. I thought
Ah,
Villa. I'm gonna go Villa. Let me tell you why. Because I predicted Villa at the start of the season, maybe crazily, maybe it's a crazy, but I had them second, right, this season to finish second. But that might have been a stretch, right? But I definitely thought it should have been finishing top five. Villa have a good squad and one of the best managers in Europe, right? For them to not even get in the top five, I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna rue that. They bottled it, if you like, in the semi-final against Palace.
ooh.
Yep.
Well, yeah, okay.
And they collapsed, as I said to Darren a few weeks ago, which Emery had done before, on the last game of the season against Manchester United. Manchester United! Everyone goes there and wins. Everyone! They lost. They lost their heads. They lost their heads. Even a draw, I think, gets them top five. They lost. I'm
Do
sorry.
you know, I'm
It's
going to
Villa.
address the elephant in the room here. I am staggered that you're taking aim at Aston Villa when Arsenal were widely believed to
Darren,
be the
Darren,
team.
Darren. Jordan's got form with Villa. He's got form. He's got massive amounts of form.
Honestly,
No,
it's
but Troy,
just
you can't say that because I had them second.
remarkable.
I had them having a really good
You
season.
you are
I'm
gutted that
actually really,
your team has not won
I'm
the league, and
disappointed.
you're
Hang
taking
on,
aim
hang on. We'll
randomly
do
at
Arsenal.
Aston Villa.
We'll do Arsenal in a second. But I genuinely had Villa
We
doing
all know
really
you're
well this
gutted that
season.
your
I,
team didn't win
all
the
right,
league.
Of course,
I've
I'm
got to be
gutted, but
honest here.
disappointed. Go on.
I've got to be honest here. I heard some comments after the game on Sunday. Yeah, about how Villa, it's
Briefly,
their own
if
fault.
you briefly, if you
All
can,
right,
Troy, we haven't got too much time.
we've got to touch on the goalkeeping situation and the goal from Morgan Rogers, because you talk about them having 10 men. Yes, it was Villa's own fault. Martinez got sent off, but they handled what Manchester United had and then got themselves a lead. And if there's one rule change that needs to happen next season, it's that decision of the referee blowing the whistle in advance of, and the fact that he can actually turn to VAR to help him out in a situation like that.
No, but
But
actually, Troy,
it's not
sorry,
so much a
Troy,
rule change. It's not so much a
the
rule
rule's
change.
fine.
It's the rule is fine. The referee is very inexperienced in the Premier League. He panicked and he blew too soon, and it
Yeah,
was his mistake. I don't
yeah,
think it's a failing of the rules in that
agree,
situation. He's
agree.
refereed mostly in the Championship. He's had, I think it's 11 games he'd had in the Premier League. He should not have been given a game of that magnitude on that day. So that's a failing of his and the people who selected him for that match. And that's where the inquest has to be beyond what happened last Sunday. Jordan.
Yeah. No, I was going to say. I mean, I take Troy's point about the referee messing up, and it was a cock up in my opinion from the referee. Villa were poor. Villa were not good in that game, even before that happened. The first half, Villa
No,
were
but Jordan,
rubbish.
you can be poor. That was a game
And
just to get over the
yeah,
line. So I don't
No.
agree with the idea that
I accept.
because they
I
were
accept
poor,
that.
that means they
I,
deserved a bad decision.
no.
That's
No,
wrong.
I agree with. I hear what you're saying, but what the point I'm making is Aston Villa could have taken responsibility into their own hands by playing better to mitigate against a bad refereeing decision.
No, I'm
If they were
sorry.
doing
That
no, hang on.
it
If
doesn't
Villa
matter
did their
how
let him
job,
well
finish.
or
hold
badly
Let
they
him
on,
finish.
play.
let me
Fact is
finish. Let
that
me
if
finish.
you are denied a legitimate goal, that would have changed the game. You cannot argue that United
Probably.
won 2-0.
It probably would have.
If Villa had scored that goal against the odds and it was a legitimate goal, then they would have changed the way that they would have played for the remaining, what,
It probably
20
would have.
minutes or
It probably would
so,
have.
and
But
they
my
would have
point
got over
is,
the line.
control the controllables. You can't control another man making an error. What you can control is your performance. It's Manchester United. They've just lost the
Doesn't
Europa
matter.
League
Listen,
final.
Floyd,
Hang on, hang on,
no,
hang on.
Jordan, I'm sorry.
Can
No,
I
that's
finish?
just wrong. What you're saying is wrong. It doesn't. If a team have a bad decision against it, whether they play well or badly is immaterial beforehand. The fact is that the decision was a poor one. There have been lots of cases of good teams not playing to their level, but managing to get over the line to find a way to win late on. And then the quality of the performance is immaterial
Doesn't matter.
after the result is established. But I think as far as that game is concerned, you're being unfair to Villa if you're saying they didn't play well, therefore they can't
What?
complain
No,
about an
I'm not being
horrendous
unfair. I'm not being
match.
unfair. I'm saying on their biggest game of the season, arguably, they didn't perform. They didn't perform.
And what?
Right. So if you don't perform, you're leaving yourself vulnerable to errors like that happening. The
No,
referees,
no.
hang on. Let me respond. The referee's performance, good or bad, is not in your control. What is in your control is handling your business. Play well, yeah, because you never know that can happen at any game to any team. But what you can control, take responsibility for your performance. They were rubbish, Darren. They weren't playing Liverpool.
Right,
They weren't playing
okay,
Arsenal.
let's
They were
just
playing.
go along with what you're saying. I know I'm going to be brief because we haven't got a lot of time. Let's go along with what you're saying. Suppose they played terrific football,
Mhm.
the game was still goalless. They played
Yep.
superb football, and then
Yep.
that happened. What's the
Yep.
difference?
The difference is they can't complain because they've done their job and they've been effed over. Whereas they didn't do their job. Do your job. Do your job.
Your argument makes zero sense. You're
That makes
saying that
total sense.
if the
No, no,
football
no,
that they'd
no,
played
no. Hang on. What I'm
in the
saying is,
70 minutes previously
what I'm
had
saying is,
been
you
easy
didn't
on
do
the
your
eye,
job.
then it would
Hang
have
on.
been easier to
Hang
take
on.
what was a bad decision
Hang
against
on.
them.
Darren, do you agree that bad luck and misfortune can happen anytime to anyone? Bad luck can happen to anybody,
Yeah.
right? Right.
Yes.
You can't control bad luck. It can happen at any time, playing well, playing poorly. If you
Yes.
handle your business, that's not luck. That's you doing your job. The bad luck that can come at any point, doesn't matter then. It doesn't matter then because you've done your job. You've controlled the controllables. If you don't
But
do your
Jordan,
job, if you don't do your job and then bad luck happens, you can't complain. You didn't do
Look, I
your
tell you
job.
what I'm going to do here is throw this out to everybody else. If you would like to tell Jordan that he's wrong, send us your comments and put them under.
See what he's doing there, Troy.
Send
See what
us
he
your
did there,
comments.
Troy.
We'll address it next time around. Now, look, as you know, we always touch on a few other non-sport subjects on the show. And they vary from a wide range of things. So I just want to throw in a couple to round off. We've got a shorter show than normal this week, and I want the guys to be brief on this if they can. It's a hard one, to be fair.
Troy.
Sunday was 5 years since the passing of George Floyd. What's your biggest takeaway? Bit of a gear change, I know, but obviously we've got to mark this. What's your biggest takeaway from the last 5 years?
My biggest takeaway, I'll be brief, is that we have, in many respects, gone backwards in regards to race relations. I think global affairs, I think what we're seeing nationally has shown us that we are not as far along the line of racial integration as we thought we were. George Floyd was a moment, an historic moment in time that should have been used as an opportunity to expose to the world the differences of how Black people are treated versus everybody else. I think we've seen since is that there are people who don't like Black people who are doubling down at now governmental level, and I'm talking globally, I'm not just talking in any one particular country, globally, that there is still a nationalist mentality of them and us. And I think there was a lot of allyship, there was a lot of kumbaya, and there was a lot of DEI budgets going on to support and work with Black people for equity and equality. But actually, what we're seeing is that a lot of it was performative. And as I said, I think we've actually gone backwards rather than
Yeah,
use that horrific incident to move forward.
try.
Very similar, Darren. Jordan almost took the words out of my mouth. We were living in a period of time then, and remember the impact of the time that George Floyd was murdered. We were living in a time then when it was when those that I suppose oppose the rise of black people, the significance of black people, the importance of black people and what they've done, not just in sport as sport took its ownership, but in society, and understanding the relevance of black people in their space. And Jordan mentioned the DEI agenda there, and I just think it's gone. I don't think it's worth the paper that it's written on or the words that come out of a lot of people's mouths. There were many organisations that jumped on the bandwagon because they had to, because the focus and the eyes were on them, and it was as hot a point as what it ever was. Who quite easily just eased themselves away from the topic of conversation, as we knew doors were going to close for many who had seen that moment as an opportunity to promote, to guide, to educate, to help people along the way in regards to the black conversation, I suppose. And even now, Darren, I believe we'll get some comments today on why we brought that up, and how us three here don't look like many people that talk in this space, but we have to have our time and we have to be able to express our opinion rather than people judge us because of the status of who we are. So I agree. I just think we've gone backwards. I think we're in a difficult space now, and I think black people are starting to be, well, not starting, have been treated very similar as that situation again for a very long time. And listen, Jordan has mentioned politicians. It's the best place to start. The people that run their countries and who give license to the many who still disrespect us in that way.
Sorry, the one
Well,
thing I'd add as well, briefly as well, is that I think a lot of these people who are not allies have shown their backside. So if there's one positive to come out of this last 5 years, as black people, we see
We
you
know who
now.
they
It's like,
are.
okay, we
Yeah.
know who you are now. So that's, if there is a positive to come out of George Floyd's murder, it's exposed those who we thought were on side and were part of the humanitarian push for equality, but actually, oh, okay, I see you, I see you, I see you.
I want to squeeze in one other subject before we go. There was a video um, of the French leader Emmanuel Macron. It was a video of his wife pushing him in the face. He says it was actually them joking around. Jordan's gone right into the screen. um, he says it was them joking around. The French president is denied uh, quarreling with his wife Brigitte. The footage was shot by uh, a camera operator from the Associated Press. It went viral on Tuesday. So here's a question: would there be this mocking and feeling of a gotcha moment um, if it were the other way around? Or should Brigitte Macron be criticised in the same way as a man would, quite rightly, for putting his hand in her face?
And answer your question briefly, no, it wouldn't be the same response if it was the other way around. I think there's a lot to be said about um, an adult putting their hands in the face of another adult. Period. Whether we're friends, brethren, colleagues, or married, like don't put your hand in my face. Don't do that. I don't care who you are. um, my mother, my father couldn't put their hand in my face. That's not, that's disrespectful, right? You don't do that to another adult. Um, and I think that, you know, hands up. My initial response to the video was to kind of chuckle and to giggle, right? Which shows my inherent bias towards how I see acts of aggression from one gender to another versus the other way around. But the reality is, as you framed it, Darren, is that I wouldn't have giggled if it was Macron putting his hands in the face of his wife. Um, I think she's bang out of order. I think that when you're coming off the plane and the door is open and there's at the back of the plane, and they'd have known the door was open because you can hear outside. It's like on a plane when the wind's coming in. You know the door's open, and you know that you're with the president of France, a big dog in his ting. There's cameras everywhere, so you know that when you're doing all this, there's a high chance the camera's going to pick it up. So she's bang out of order. She's bang out of order. And if I was him, I'll be having strong words with her about her conduct. One, from a respect point of view, even in private, don't put your hand in my face. But also from a kind of PR point of view, what are you doing? I'm the French president, and there's cameras everywhere. This makes me look so small. So yeah, in brief, it would have been a different response from people had it been the other way around. He'd be done. If it was the other way around, he'd have to resign. He'd have been done.
I'll be with you. I'm with your initial point, which is that whether it's in private or public, that is an act of disrespect. That you're right, and we talk about dismantling toxic cultures. We as men can't be sitting here laughing about it.
No.
And if it were the other way, regardless of which side it had come from, it just struck me straight away that there was something deeply uncomfortable. The plane doors opened. You could see her hand in his face. That was reported by, an established platform, and has been since reported by a lot of the reputable platforms as being genuine. And he's been saying that it was playful, that it was joking, but there's playful and then there's that. And I think anyone who saw it see it that way. Now, if it happened with my son towards his daughter, my daughter towards her husband, I'd speak to her. And I think it'll be interesting to see how this develops, because obviously the two of them will be asked more questions once they're in front of the media. Emmanuel Macron in particular, he does have duties to perform this week. So he will be asked about it, but that's a big one. Do you want a quick one about Brooklyn Beckham? All right, I'll give it to you anyway. One last one. Brooklyn Beckham is cut ties with his parents in favour of his wife, Nicola Peltz. Long-running feud between the Beckhams and their son. But the bottom line is that he very publicly stated on social media, "I choose you." His wife, Nicola Peltz, "I choose you." Should you ever cut ties with your parents in favour of your partner?
Go on, Troy. Go on.
No, I was going to say it's a difficult one because, look, I've not had the best relationships with my mother or my father, and no one knows what goes on behind the scenes. No one knows the true detail behind any family. It doesn't matter whether they're in the public eye or not. Look, it wasn't to do with anybody else. It was to do with our relationships and the way that obviously we were together as a family. It can be tough, but I don't know what pressure he's been being put under by his wife and maybe her family as well. So it's a hard one to kind of base it down. Of course, you wouldn't want to lose your family over anybody, really, because they always say families first, but also he's creating a family of his own. So I'm probably sitting on the fence as much as I can because of a difficult relationship that I have with my mother and had with my father as well, which spanned decades, to be honest.
I don't know too much about this story, but I'll be brief. Whenever guys say that are married, I hear a lot of men say, when you get married, you do have to prioritize your wife over your mother. This is your new family. This is your woman. This is the person you are now pouring into. I kind of understood that for a while, but now I think about it, your mother and your wife should understand the position that you're in and therefore respect the other one. So a good mother would understand that her son needs to focus on his wife, and that's his family now. But then a good wife will understand that, well, that's his mum, so he's never going to cut ties with her either. So I guess what I'm saying is that you want to be with a woman that understands and respects your relationship with your mother and what the importance there. But your mother needs to obviously respect that your wife is the person you see every single day. That's the person that is, having your children and raising your family with you. So I don't understand why it is a choice. And I think if you're being made to pick, one of the two parties is a problem.
I think,
Yeah.
I think,
No.
I think what also entails here is I'm the only grandparent here, as far as I know, and there's that common kind of thing where you talk about grandparents having children again. It's having children to look after, having children to love. It was different with their own children, but also being able to give them back when the frying pan gets really hot. And I totally well, my experience is that I'd love my grandchildren, and actually I'd rather keep them than send them back, but understand that they have a family. So my daughter or my son have families to go back to as well. And we praise our children for the way they brought up their children, our grandchildren. And I think it's important to acknowledge that as well, that families, whole families that are wholesome, families that are, right through the age ranges, and the grandparents and the great grandparents are the ones that probably the love grows and grows and grows. When we lose an element of that, I've no doubt that he's probably thinking about it on the occasions when, the press are about and there is conversation about the Beckhams, or they are, taking family photos and he's not in them. Those moments, I don't know. I find that a little bit difficult and a little bit hard for a family that all we knew about was, the boys being brought up in a certain way, and then Harper came along, and it seemed like they were complete. But obviously, being complete has its challenges because of the love of other people, and I think that's what's happened here.
Well, just so that you know, Troy, if it were between Jordan and you, I would choose you. Okay. Um, right, that's it for this week.
I don't think you're surprised either, Jordan, are you?
And for the season on the Whisper It Loudly podcast, big thanks to Jordan, to Troy, to Hugh, to Emmanuel, who shoots this for us, to Jack, who helps us put it all out, and to all of you for your thoughts and your opinions, even when you don't agree with us. Remember to keep those views coming on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, and X, if you must. We're back in the summer. We hope you have a great break. We'll see you soon.